Hi, I'm Jennifer Lee, Admin Evangelist, and this is How I Solved It. Have you ever considered screenflows to guide your customers through a process? Check out how Selena built a screenflow to guide her students from the Read to Reef program through the National Aquarium voucher redemption process. Today, I'm with Selina Choy, Salesforce Administrator at the National Aquarium. I interviewed Selena on stage at her first Dreamforce this past September at the admin keynote. Welcome, Selena, to How I Solved It.
Hi, Jen. Thanks for having me.
So I'm bringing Selena here to do a deeper dive of the solution we very briefly covered in the keynote. But before that, we're going to just have a conversation with Selena. So Selena, Dreamforce seems like it was ages ago. How was your experience speaking at your first Dreamforce to thousands in the room and who knows how many viewing online?
Yeah, so the admin keynote was the first time I presented in front of thousands of people. So I definitely felt butterflies in my stomach. But I felt the support of all the trailblazers in the room. So that helped me feel more at ease on stage. And doing that demo, that presentation up there, really made my Dreamforce really special.
And I love hearing everyone's Salesforce journey because they're all unique. So how did you get involved with Salesforce?
Prior to my Salesforce journey, I worked at a few e-commerce companies doing digital merchandising. And along the way, I picked up some basic CRM experience and learned to apply them to business processes. But I had no idea at the time this was such a major skill set. In 2015, I started a new job as a marketing coordinator that's when I first heard of Salesforce. I was working at a lighting company and the job description said, you will track sample requests in Salesforce, no experience required. We will provide training. And so in this job, my main priority was entering sample request data in Salesforce. And I was also the point of contact for the sales team when they wanted to know the status of their samples, whether it's pending, in progress, or shipped. So there was a lot of manual work to keep up with since our Salesforce app started with a basic setup. And so I worked with the Salesforce admin to outline the workflow automation and set up some email alerts to trigger when a sample record is updated as shipped. And something about setting up automation from scratch felt very empowering and satisfying. And so I noticed my abilities to be able to come up with these solutions to make my tasks so much easier. Not having to deal with all those emails coming in just made my job so much easier, to not have to do all that repetitive work. So around this time, Trailhead was available and I found it really resourceful. And I saw a lot of signs that encouraged me to get admin certified. And I finally earned my admin certification in 2019. And I was ready to look for new admin opportunities. But it did take me some time to make my next move. It wasn't easy as soon as I got my certification. In 2020, I signed up for the Trailblazer mentorship program and got matched with a great mentor who helped me hone my skills to be even better than it was. And I volunteered wherever I could, including the National Aquarium, to put all my Trailhead training to use. And when the National Aquarium had a job opening for a Salesforce admin, I jumped right to it. And now here I am.
Yay. For those who miss the Dreamforce admin keynote, share with us the business problem that you solved for it, and how did you come up with Read to Reef, which is a really cute name for the program, by the way?
So I didn't come up with the name Read to Reef. All the naming credits goes to our marketing and community connections team. I'd say they're the experts at coming up with fun and catchy names. Read to Reef is a partnership program that National Aquarium has with the Baltimore area libraries to encourage kids to read and visit the aquarium. Every season, the libraries will pass out the bookmark vouchers, and now we use Flow to manage the reservation process and gather survey data for reporting. Before Flow, we saw a lot of bookmarks getting redeemed along with completed surveys on those bookmarks. But compiling the data was tedious since our staff was manually logging handwritten responses that were usually hard to read. So the chances of our data being accurate was very slim. So I saw that this was the perfect use case to update the process with a reservation flow and having a experience cloud site that would be easily accessible to the public. And I predicted that it would improve the reporting process.
Great. I love automation use cases. So what has the impact been after you put the solution in production?
So our reservation flow has provided a much more positive experience for our guests to schedule their free visit to the aquarium. And at the same time, our staff is able to see redemption data as each Reef to Reef reservation is made now that the survey portion is also on the flow. And now that we have more reliable data in Salesforce, our team feels more confident on reporting on these results. And we saw that in the past year, National Aquarium was able to give out 7,000 free tickets to 2,000 students that completed the book club for reading an average of 5 books each season. So yeah, those were results that we loved seeing.
Well, that's a lot of vouchers. So Selena, as admins, we like to nerd out and set up. So can you show us how you solved it?
Absolutely. Let me walk you through it. All right, so first I'll take us through our guest user experience side on the Experience Cloud site. The flow is the first thing we see here when we arrive. So we should have our 4-character bookmark code to get started. And I'll enter an extra character here just to see what happens if I put in a funny code. So the flow here pops up this message right here to make sure that we enter the right number or else we're not able to move on. SFTB. All right, so now it's time to select a date and enter our party size. So our bookmark here has an expiration date of September 1st, 2023. And at the same time right here, we have a date that says visit date must be on or before March 3rd. But let's say I was super excited and I didn't read this. So I'm going to pick a date out in April. Put in my party size. So we have another message here. It says, please select a date between today and March 3rd. So let's make sure we do this right. I'm going to do, let's see, let's do 21st. And we'll keep the party size the same. And now we have some times here to select for this date. Do 10 o'clock. All right, so now we can enter some guest details. Put in my email here. And this is where the child will choose their reading level. And we select a library branch where we got the bookmark from. So I'm going to look over my information here. And once I click on submit, this will create the record in Salesforce. Since this is in live production, I'm going to create this record in our sandbox so it doesn't mess with our team's data. All right, so here we are in Sandbox. I already went through the steps that we just did, and I'm going to click on Submit. All right, so here is our confirmation screen with the date that we selected, shows the total guests that are coming. And so this is what the guests will bring with them to the aquarium when they visit. So what just happened on the back side is, here's the voucher record with the voucher code that I just used. It's for the Reef program, expiration date, September 1st. So here's my record, my voucher record. And if I click on related, I'll see here, this was the reservation that was just created. We have all the information here, the reservation time slot, the voucher that was used, and the guest details. So now I can show us how we made this happen in Flow. All right, so here's the voucher screen that we started with. All right, so here is the text entry component, the text entry field that we used to gather the bookmark code from the user. And here are the details on the side, just so that we can refer back to it later. Labels, bookmark code, API name, that's more important, voucher number. We want to make that a simple and easy name so we can easily refer back to it later. Up here is the conditional statement that we saw pop up earlier when I slipped in a typo, an extra letter. We don't want this to show up by default, so we want to set the component visibility over on the right side here. Right here is the message that I can customize, and we can even use rich text formatting. And down here is the component visibility, and we just have one condition right here, which is I named it variable, voucher not found, and we want that to equal true, meaning if the voucher is not found, the flow later will return back to this page to display this message up here. All right, so let me exit out of here. So next we have get records. And this is what we use to search records under the voucher object. And so once we set our criteria, we want to configure how it's being sorted. So how many records to store? We're only searching for one code, so only the first record should work. And we want to automatically store all the fields from that record that was pulled. All right, so after we do the get records, we will use a decision component. This is where we use the decision component to decide what the flow will do next. After the get vouchers component, we expect two outcomes, either voucher found or voucher not found. So here we're going to set the criteria for voucher found. All right, so we set this resource here, get voucher is null equals false. Is null means blank. So when we say is null is false, that means that the get vouchers component actually returns some records to us. And so for the other outcome, voucher not found, it's the complete opposite. So, we don't have to set any special conditions since it's already the opposite of what we set over here. And so once we have this decision set up, we see these two outcomes here. If the voucher is not found, we will assign this value called voucher not found equals true, which is what we saw on the first screen. And the conditional message will pop up if this variable is assigned. Over on this side, we have voucher found. So we assign the max reservation variable. And so we want to pull the date from the voucher record. So here we set the variable as a text type equals, and the value is the reservation date that's from the record, since we're able to store all the field values from the get vouchers step. So once that's been assigned, we can move to the date selection screen. And so you see here, we have a lot of different components. We have the display component that will, have the program information. And then this is where that max reservation date shows up, since we pulled it from the get vouchers record. And so here's another conditional statement. It's the same thing. We don't want it to show up by default. So we set the component visibility over on this side with the message that we want to choose. And over here, we put this in red so that it brings more attention to the person that is filling out this form. And so here we have the different types of input fields. This one specifically is date field. And then we have number fields here. All right, so after the date selection screen, we will do another get records step. And this time we're searching under the reservation time slot object. And so with this object, we have a different set of fields available for our reservations equals true. And then the date is the date that was selected in the previous screen. More fields here, other availability. Make sure that read to reef is not blacked out, and then also not overlapping with other events that we have. And so we do the same thing here again, how many records to store, only the first record, and we want to store all of the values from that record we just grabbed. And now we have another decision. Right, so again, we set the resource here from the get records step, get time slots is null equals false. And then no availability is the same thing, it's the complete opposite. So no will take us down this path here. We want to assign the value of no time slots equals true to take the user back to the other step to choose another date. And if there is availability, we will come here to the time slot selection screen where we chose the time slots that are available for the date selected. And so here is the select entry time area that displayed all the different times available. And this is actually a record choice set here that we configured over here. And so we only want one time slot selected. And the choice here is a variable, that record choice set that we have to do before we can make this display. So here's the reservation detail screen where the guest will enter their name, zip code, email, and the child will select their reading level and neighborhood library. And so these are actually pick list values from the reservation object itself. So we set this up over here, pick lists, And this is another pick list value set. And so now that we have all that information, we can use create records. And so we want to create one record here under the reservations object. And right here is where we map out the values that were provided to the fields that are on this reservation record. So we have, adults, children entered with email address, guest name, library, record type, status, all that good stuff. And so once that reservation is created, we want to do the get records so that we can show that information on the confirmation screen. So here, we're searching the reservation object. And this time, the condition, the criteria that we're searching is the record ID, which is the reservation we just created. So we only need to find that first record, and we want to store all those fields, all the values. All right, so here is our confirmation screen. And right here is this whole block right here is a display text component where we, draft the message that we want displayed, and we use some merge fields here from the record that we just created. And so one more thing I want to show is the screen that we didn't see when we were entering the bookmark number for redemption. We have an error screen right here. And we set up the screen so that in case the flow messes up for an unknown reason, we can point the guest to this page. An error has occurred. Please contact Central Reservations for assistance. So that's way if they run into an unknown error that our validation rules weren't able to cover, they can reach out to somebody and talk to someone to get some help so that they don't feel lost, or they don't end up not coming just because our flow messed up. So that's our flow.
Thanks, Selena. That's a great automation solution using ScreenFlow. And I love your use of component visibility, assignment elements, and fault connectors to point to that one error screen for unforeseen errors. So how long did it take you to even build out the solution?
With building, testing, and doing different versions, probably about 4-5 weeks at least. Mm-hmm. But it definitely takes some time to, get everything the way we want it to for a smooth and easy user experience.
Well, it definitely looks like a great solution. So thank you, Selena, for showing us how you built a ScreenFlow for the Read to Reef program participants to redeem their voucher. Thank you for being a guest on How I Solved It.
Thanks for having me.
You just saw how Selena Choy flexed her automation skills by building a ScreenFlow to easily allow her students to redeem a Read to Reef voucher to the National Aquarium. You can always find videos like this at admin.salesforce.com and also by subscribing to our YouTube channel, Salesforce Admins, so you will never miss another episode of How I Solved It. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.
Awesome Admin.